Hi, I'm Phil, and I'm here with my co-host and producer Tami. Together, we co-host the Homicide Canada podcast or homicidecanada.com podcast, whatever you prefer. This is episode 68. It's a departure from our monthly wrap-ups of the Canadian homicide scene. This is one of our special ones. It's on Robert Pickton. Yeah. And so I think I don't know, if you have never listened to this podcast before, we have a website associated with it, homicidecanada.com. Basically, yeah, we try to track all the homicides in Canada and have a page for each murder. Yeah, we're on social media too. If you want to check us out on that way, you can look us up on Facebook or Instagram. I think just search us. We're on Twitter, homicide_Canada. This podcast is now on YouTube, Tami.
Woo.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, like you can get it. Obviously, this like you're listening now. You know how to get this podcast and that. But yeah, instead of listening on Apple Podcast or I don't know what are the other ones, Spotify, whatever. You know the ones and that, or you can just go to YouTube. So say you're at your TV and you have one of those smart TVs, got the YouTube app. Then technically you could listen to our podcast through that. I don't know why you'd want to do that, but maybe you would. Also, yeah, our email info@homicidecanada.com. We check it fairly regularly. So yeah, if we've missed a murder, hit us up there and go, hey, you missed this murder, because we don't get all of them. All right. Yeah. So normally, yeah, a lot of the times we do mostly monthly podcasts, but wrap-up podcasts. But yeah, sometimes we do a special one. So today, we're turning our focus to one of Canada's most haunting and horrifying criminal cases, the story of Robert William Pickton, a pig farmer from Port Coquitlam, British Columbia. It's just kind of a suburb of Vancouver, who turned his family farm into a killing ground. Pickton was known to his neighbors as quiet, even awkward, but behind the rusty gates of his rural property, Pickton was hiding a gruesome secret, one that would take years, millions of dollars, and the lives of dozens of women before the truth was finally uncovered. This is the story of the pig farmer killer, as he is known, a case that shook Canada to its core, exposing glaring failures in the justice system and forced the country to confront its ongoing neglect of marginalized women. Robert Pickton was born in 1949 in Port Coquitlam, just east of Vancouver. He was raised in a pig farm by parents who were emotionally cold, physically neglectful, and deeply isolated from the community. His mother, Louise, reportedly prioritized the pigs over her children, sending them to school in filthy clothes, leading classmates to cruelly name him Stinky Piggy.
Ooh, that's gonna cause trouble.
Yeah. He struggled academically and socially, eventually dropping out of school at only the age of 14. He worked as a butcher for a few years before returning to the family farm, which he would later inherit with his siblings, I think his brother, and that, although I did read that he had an older sister, after both his parents died in the late 70s. Actually, I was looking at the map today where the pig farm was, and it's pretty much, if you go look at it, I think it's 953 Dominion Road or something like that. You can find it out on the internet and that, but I was looking at it on Google Maps, and it's like, yeah, it's pretty much just totally surrounded by like suburbia now. I think.
Wow.
Yeah, it's kind of wild. So, and I did read that the brothers in that had sold off some of their property to developers for like $5 million. So,
wow.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Yeah, so that farm would become the stage for one of Canada's most disturbing criminal investigations.
So in the 1990s, the Pickton brothers created a bizarre nonprofit called the Piggy Palace Good Time Society. Originally meant to host charity events, in reality it was a front for wild parties held in a converted slaughterhouse on the farm. The events were attended by sex workers, drug users, bikers, and allegedly even some members of the local elite Hells Angels.
I got to wonder what these parties were like.
I don't know. They seem very well attended.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think I saw somewhere, I was reading today, just to brush up a bit, that there was like 2,000 people I saw quoted somewhere. That's just insane.
Yeah, like where are these people today? I want to hear their stories. At the same time, women, and many of them Indigenous, many struggling with addictions and poverty, began disappearing from Vancouver's downtown east side. Family raised alarms and activists pleaded for attention. Police were slow to respond, and these missing women were often dismissed as high-risk individuals. For years, rumors of serial killers circulated, but little action was taken.
I guess pretty much almost all the women were, I don't know, prostitutes then, or at least sort of downtown east side denizens, I guess, of Vancouver.
Yeah, like I think some of them were
just
homeless,
yeah,
and drug users and whatnot. On March 22nd, 1997, a woman whom Robert Pickton had brought to his farm fought back when he tried to handcuff her. During the struggle, she grabbed a kitchen knife, and both she and Pickton sustained serious stab wounds. The woman managed to escape and flagged down a passing car, whose occupants called for an ambulance. She was rushed to Royal Columbian Hospital in New Westminster, and as she underwent emergency surgery, Pickton was also being treated for his injuries at the same hospital. A hospital orderly found a handcuff key in Pickton's pocket that unlocked the cuffs that were still on the woman's wrists.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah. Pickton was arrested and charged with attempted murder, forcible confinement, and assault with a weapon. However, the charges were later stayed and ultimately dropped. The woman, whose identity was protected by a court-ordered publication ban, was deemed an unreliable witness due to her drug addiction, and Pickton claimed she was a hitchhiker who had attacked him.
So basically, if something might have happened here, then, yeah, a lot of murders could have been prevented.
Yeah, but nobody would listen to her just because she was a drug addict. And in 1997, Pickton was charged with attempted murder after a sex worker named Wendy Lynn Estedler was found bleeding on a Coquitlam street. She said Pickton had stabbed her multiple times after handcuffing her at his farm. He was arrested, but the Crown stayed the charges in January 1998 after prosecutors deemed her unreliable due to her drug use.
That's, a little almost like Jeffrey Dahmer.
Yeah.
So it's kind of wild. Okay, so, and then in the spring of 1999, according to an informant, Lynn Ellingson had witnessed a woman's body hanging in Pickton slaughterhouse. When first questioned, she denied the claim. It was only much later that she admitted the sighting had occurred on March 20th. She said she had remained silent out of fear of Pickton and because she depended on him financially to support her drug habit. Around the same time in early 1999, Bill Hiscox, who worked for the Picktons, I guess the brothers, contacted the RCMP. He reported that Lisa Yelds, a close friend of Pickton, had told him she saw women's clothing, purses, and ID cards on the farm, items that Hiscox believed belonged to missing women. When questioned, Yelds refused to cooperate. This was the second time that Hiscox had approached police with concerns, but without direct evidence or an eyewitness account, authorities were unable to obtain a search warrant. And then hearsay alone was not enough to take legal action. So yeah, like there has been multiple
dismissed.
Multiple times in that.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I hope the police felt stupid after this.
It wasn't until February 2002. So Hiscox was at 1999. Now, so February 2002, 5 years after that attempted murder charge, that a police raid looking for illegal firearms led to something much more chilling. So personal items belonging to missing women were discovered on the property. Police obtained another warrant and soon began uncovering body parts, DNA, and evidence of slaughtered human remains. Pickton was arrested and eventually charged with 27 counts of murder. The investigation became one of the largest and most expensive in Canadian history, costing an estimated 70 million Canadian dollars by 2003.
Wow. I wonder how much that is in today's money.
Yeah, that's another thing too. Yeah, that's 22 years ago. So there's been some inflation since then. So that's pretty wild number. Some remains were so decomposed and destroyed or scattered that authorities couldn't identify them all. It was believed that Pickton may have fed some of his victims to his pigs. I guess, what was that movie? Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. I think that was kind of a plot element. Or worse, processed them with pork that entered the food supply.
Wow.
Though this claim remains unproven and horrifying to consider.
I hope not.
So Pickton later confessed to an undercover officer planted in his jail cell that he had caught or killed 49 women, that he wanted to make it even 50, but got sloppy and was caught.
Wow. So
obviously, I'm pretty sure that's by far the most victims of a serial killer in Canadian history.
I think so.
So on December 9th, 2007, Pickton was convicted on 6 counts of second-degree murder, not first degree, which shocked many. He was sentenced to life in prison with no chance of parole for 25 years, the maximum allowed under Canadian law at the time. So that's interesting because, I don't know, we talk a lot about on this podcast, I don't know if you're a regular listener, but for homicide, like getting charged with manslaughter, second-degree and first-degree murder. First-degree murder, it's life, but also no chance of parole for 25 years. Second is life, no chance of parole, and then the judge can set between 10 and 25. So in this case, he wasn't convicted of first-degree murder, but he basically got the same punishment. And that, although you got to wonder, I don't know how to say this, but if you kill one person, then maybe you can sort of say it wasn't planned. But if you're killing 6 people in that, you can't just be like, say, oh, it was all second-degree murder. But anyways, he got the same sentence. The victims that were on those 6 counts were Serena Abbotsway, 29. She was missing since August 22nd, 2001. Mona Lee Wilson, 26, missing since November 30th, 2001. Andrea Joesbury, 22, missing since June 8th, 2001. Brenda Ann Wolfe, 32, missing since April 25th, 2000. Georgina Faith Papin, 34, missing since March 2001. And then Marnie Lee Ann Fry, 24, missing since December 29th, 1997. So yeah, what's interesting about those numbers I was giving there in terms of years, like if Pickton had been caught earlier than on some of those things you were talking about, Tammy, then like a lot of murders could have been prevented.
Yeah. Pickton had also been charged with first-degree murders of 21 other women. However, those charges were stayed in August 4th, 2010, so they were set aside and not pursued, which is crazy. Those women included Jacqueline Mitchell McDonald, 22, missing since January 16th, 1999. Diane Rosemary Rock, missing since December 13th, 2001. Heather Kathleen Bottomley, missing since April 17th, 2001. Jennifer Lynn Firminger, 28 years old, missing since January 27th, 1999. Helen Mae Hallmark, 20 years old, missing since June 15th, 1997. Patricia Rose Johnson, 25, missing since January 2nd, 2001. Heather Gabrielle Chinook, 30 years old, last seen April 2001. Tanya Hollick, missing since November 3rd, 1996. Shelley Lee Irving, 24 years old, missing since February 22nd, 1997. Igna Monique Hall, missing since February 1998. Tiffany Louise Drew, 27, missing since December 31st, 1999. Sarah Jean DeVries, 29, last seen April 1998. Cynthia Cindy Flex, 43, last seen in December 1997. Angela Rebecca Jardine, 27, missing since November 20th, 1998. Diana Melnick, 23, last seen in December 1995. Mission Jane Doe, they haven't figured out her name yet. Unidentified remains found on February 25th, 1995.
I wonder now, like since we're doing this podcast in 2025, if this, with new advances in genealogy, DNA, if they've identified this person, maybe not, but
or if they're going to.
If they're going to, yeah.
Deborah Lynn Jones, 42, last seen in December 2000. Wendy Crawford, 43, last seen in December 1999. Carrie Lynn Koski, 38, missing since January 7th, 1998. Andrea Faye Borehaven, 25, last seen March 1997. Cara Louise Ellis, 25, missing since January 21st, 1997.
So it looks like, just looking through here, that the victims range in age from 20 to 46.
Yeah, so it's a wide range group.
Pretty wide range.
Public anger exploded not just at the horrors of Pickton's crimes, but the years of missed opportunities and indifference. Many believe that the victims hadn't been poor, Indigenous, or sex workers. The response would have been faster and more serious. I think that people are right.
Yeah, for sure.
This case sparked a formation of the Missing Women's Commission of Inquiry, a major investigation into the systemic failures that allowed Pickton to operate unchecked for so long. It became a watershed moment for discussions around missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls in Canada and the ongoing crisis of gender-based violence in marginalized communities.
All right. So Robert Pickton spent the rest of his life in prison until May 31st, 2024, when he died after being attacked by another inmate. So on Sunday, May 19th, 2024, at around 5:16 p.m., Pickton was attacked by another inmate during the distribution of medication in the unit. A correctional officer stationed at the control post immediately called for backup, and responding officers quickly intervened, successfully persuading the attacker to stop. Just 2 minutes later, at approximately 5:18 p.m., the same inmate grabbed a broomstick, broke the handle, and struck Mr. Pickton in the face with it. Correctional officers stepped in again, gained control of the situation, handcuffed the aggressor, and escorted him to the structured intervention unit. Pickton was taken by ambulance to the Centre de Santé et des Services Sociaux de Septiel around 5:57 p.m. Due to the severity of his injuries, he was airlifted to Hospital Enfant or Hôpital Enfant Jesus. I don't know if that's pronouncing it correctly in French, in Quebec City the following day. It's interesting that he was in prison in Quebec.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know he spoke French, or I don't know.
Neither did I.
The following day, and admitted to the intensive care unit, he succumbed to his injuries and was pronounced dead on May 31st, 2024. So it's interesting, yeah, he got, I guess, hit in the face with a broken broomstick, and
Yeah.
that was enough to kill him. So Martin, I guess here his nickname was Spike Charest, 52, was charged on July 3rd, 2025 with first-degree murder. That's interesting that it was like May 19th and it wasn't July 3rd that he was charged, although I guess the thing is he wasn't going anywhere. So
Yeah, that's true.
all right. So Charest admitted on September 25th to fatally assaulting Pickton with the broken broom handle at the Port Coquitlam Federal Penitentiary in May 2024. According to CBC, a statement of facts read out in court detailed how Charest locked himself into a room with Pickton and assaulted him twice while guards were unable to enter. When the judge asked Charest, who has a long gray beard and tattooed forearms, if he had anything else to say, he explained that Pickton triggered him by bragging about the numerous people he killed in British Columbia. He said that a child was with one of the women that he killed. He said he wanted to eat the liver of the child, Charest said. Pickton did 49 victims and maybe more. I couldn't let him go on. I have no remorse. I did it for the victims.
Wow.
So with the guilty plea, Charest automatically received a life sentence with his period of parole ineligibility set at 25 years.
And so why was Martin Charest in prison to begin with? According to the Gazette, since 1999, Charest spent a significant portion of his life in maximum security federal prisons. While living in Lévis, I think that's how you say it, Lévis?
Lévis might be Lévis. I don't know.
While living in Lévis, he was arrested in connection with a string of armed robberies. On December 15th, 1999, he pleaded guilty at a Quebec City courthouse to 4 counts of armed robbery and several related charges. That same day, he was sentenced to 52 months in prison. After being released in 2005, Charest returned to Lévis, but was soon arrested and charged with assault. He quickly pleaded guilty and received a 21-month prison sentence. 2 years later, he admitted to 3 armed robberies and was sentenced to 8 years, a term that had been extended multiple times, keeping him in prison to this day.
So it's interesting. He didn't commit murder or anything like that.
No,
just a lot of armed robberies.
Yeah, I guess like, yeah, it's still dangerous.
And it's interesting. So, it's funny. He's well, not funny, but he's like released in 2005, and then 2 years later, he was sentenced 8 years. That's, as you said, it's been extended. So he's done like a lot of time.
Yeah,
so,
I wonder why it was extended
I don't know
time.
if he keeps, I don't know,
bad behavior.
Yeah, bad behavior in that, or what, or other charges. Yeah, it's interesting that he's not like he turns out he's almost like a lifer, but he's not. He hasn't been charged with like first-degree murder or something like that.
Yeah.
So, although now he'll be in prison for life.
Yeah.
Actually, here's some more information. Sorry. In 2014, as he was nearing the end of that sentence, Charest was charged with uttering threats while at Port Coquitlam and was given an additional 48-month sentence after pleading guilty. 4 years later, while at a maximum security prison in Dorchester, New Brunswick, actually I have a cousin that lives there, he assaulted a male nurse, leaving him unconscious, and used a pen to fend off guards. Okay. As a result, a judge in Miramichi extended his sentence by another 5 years in 2018. In 2021, while incarcerated at the Donnacona Institution near Quebec City, Charest was charged again with uttering threats, leading to another extension of his sentence. Okay, so I guess we get it now. Last year, before being charged with homicide for killing Pickton, Charest faced 2 more counts of uttering threats and was sentenced on January 30th to additional 3 years in prison. So the Charest guy he just
But
he gets
he
in
wasn't
prison.
a murderer.
Yeah, he just can't seem to get out of prison and can't just keeps uttering threats and things like that. So he's been in there for like a long time, since 1999. Spent like a huge amount of his life in there. And it's amazing that it's funny in this way. Like Pickton, I guess, got discharged. I guess let's see, when did he get sentenced or arrested? I guess I'm looking back through here. I guess around 2002, I guess. He's like Pickton had managed to survive in prison for until 23 years later before finally somebody offed him in that. So, Yeah, and it's for Pickton. It's just amazing, just how many people that he killed in that,
And how many he admitted to killing. Like,
yeah, exactly. So like, yeah, he said 49. So
yeah, but the crazy thing is, so we have 21, so we have 27 here. Who are the rest?
yeah, exactly.
And why didn't he get charged with their murders if he admitted to them?
Yeah, I guess the one thing, I guess the thing is they only have the samples of DNA to go on in that,
I guess.
and so I have to admit that, like, I have to think the farm was a pretty contaminated scene in that. With,
Definitely.
with like a lot of different things in that. It's interesting too, because like you'd have to wonder like all the missing person cases they have in the Lower East Side or downtown East Side and in Vancouver and that. Because yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, like looking at like these people that disappeared, like there was like so many of them between like 97 and like 2001 and that. So, yeah, it's just amazing that was able to kill just so many people for so long. I guess the one thing is that he did have a pig farm, and I guess that seems to be like, if you want to dispose a body, that's like not the worst place in that. But yeah, I don't think we'll ever see anything like that again.
I hope not.
Although it does remind you a little bit of what was that guy in Toronto? I can't remember his name. The guy who killed all the gay men and that. I don't know.
Oh, I forget his name too.
I forget his name too. But yeah, he got away with 8, I guess. So
yeah.
And with him, he was burying them the victims in planters and that. So
yeah, at his clients' houses.
So and that.
Strange.
So as a sort of a gardener and that landscaper and that. So like, I think, yeah, getting away with a lot of murder, it seems, you need somewhere where you can dispose of the victims without, people running into it. That's the one thing Pickton with his pig farm seemed to have in that. And so basically, last year, Pickton, his life comes to an end in that. So after so much death and destruction.